Welcome to the 19th Annual Gold Derby Film Awards nominations announcement. I'm Chris Beachum. Today we've got our editing staff together, which includes Daniel Montgomery, Marcus Dixon, Paul Sheehan, Joyce, Christopher Rosen, Zach Laws, and we're going to be giving you the nominees in 22 different categories. Like I said earlier, we have been doing this a long time. Next year will be our 20th year doing this. And over the course of time, a cool thing for us is all of these nominees and eventually all the winners will be featured on the IMDb pages for each film and each person's pages. So we will get started here in just a moment. By the way, 2,200 people worldwide voted on these nominations. So they weren't decided by the group of us that you're hearing from today. They were decided by you.
They should have been.
Well, I'm not thrilled with some of them, but I'm not very thrilled with others, as I'm sure everybody will be today. So we're going to kick things off with Joyce and the first two categories.
The first category is Best International Feature. The nominees are Another Round, Bacurau, La Llorona, The Life Ahead, and Wolfwalkers. And then our next category is Best Documentary Feature. The nominees are Boys State, Collective, Dick Johnson is Dead, Time, and Welcome to Chechnya.
And both of these were pretty decisive groups of five for international film. Beanpole came closest, but it was about 200 points out of a nomination. Collective was also got a lot of support for international, though it did get into documentary. Two of Us, Dear Comrades, which are on the Academy shortlist, they were 8th and 9th. Martin Eden in 10th for documentary film. All In, Fight for Democracy came the closest. So Democracy didn't work for that film, but it was also about 200 points out. So this was a pretty decisive five.
So that's all that matters.
Stacey Abrams helped with the election that mattered, so I'm good with that. Miss Americana was 7th, Crip Camp in 8th. So a lot of support, really good year for documentaries. I really like this five.
Okay, now I'm here for Best Animated Feature. The nominees are Onward, Over the Moon, Shaun the Sheep movie Farmageddon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. And I'm also here to do Best Visual Effects. The nominees there are Birds of Prey, The Invisible Man, The Midnight Sky, Soul, and Tenet.
Yeah, animated feature was a little bit close. In 6th place, perhaps surprising, number 7, Cherry Lane got more votes than The Croods and The Willoughbys. I think there was a lot of passion for it because it has more first place votes than a couple of the films that got nominations. This was a preferential ballot, so it had a lot of passionate number 1 support. Visual effects was kind of close. Mank was very close to a nomination, about 40 points out of a nomination. Welcome to Chechnya, which I wanted to get nominated here and is nominated for our documentary award. That was about 40 points, or about 70 points out of a nomination. So they were both pretty close.
Nice.
Next up is Best Sound, and the nominees are Mank, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Soul, Sound of Metal, and Tenet. And then in Best Production Design, the nominees are Emma, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Mank, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Tenet.
Yeah, I was very excited to see I'm Thinking of Ending Things get in for a tech category here. Just missing out for Best Production Design was Birds of Prey. That was about 60 points out of a nomination. Promising Young Woman was also less than 100 points out of a nomination for Production Design. Best Sound, Da 5 Bloods just missed out, was about 50 points out. The Invisible Man also had support there. So that was kind of close to getting in. But yeah, those top fives were fairly secure.
Hello, everyone. Let's do Best Original Song now. And the nominees are Fight for You from Judas and the Black Messiah, Husavik from Eurovision Song Contest, IOC Scene from The Life Ahead, Speak Now from One Night in Miami, and Wuhan Flu from Borat subsequent movie film. And I'm also here to do Best Original Score. And the nominees are Mank, Minari, News of the World, Soul, and Tenet.
Yeah, Rain Song from Minari just missed out for Best Song. It was about 30 points out of a nomination, so it came really close there. And for Best Score, Promising Young Woman, again, a close, a near miss for Promising Young Woman. It finished about 50 points out of a nomination for Best Score. Nomadland also got a lot of support for its score.
Okay, folks, we got a couple of tech categories to announce here. Starting off with Best Makeup and Hair. The nominees there are Birds of Prey, Emma, Hillbilly Elegy, Mank, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Next up in Best Film Editing, we have Mank, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Tenet, and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Promising Young Woman got in for editing, but surprise, surprise, near miss for Best Makeup and Hair. It was about 50 points out of a nomination in 6th place. Borat
That shocks me.
Yeah, Borat, and Promising Young Woman was about 300 points ahead of 7th place, which was Borat. And then I'm thinking of Ending Things, which I think had amazing makeup, which I'm mad at. Didn't get nominated. Just missing out in film editing, although film editing was a pretty decisive top 5. Sound of Metal was about 130 points out of a nomination in 6th place. I'm thinking of Ending Things also did well here, got a lot of support in 7th. The Father, which I thought would do better for editing especially, finished 8th.
There's a lot of really good contenders, and it's really making me second guess the predictions I have at the Oscars, because there are so many things to choose from. I mean, luckily, some of these have short lists that we can go by, but a lot of good things that you're talking about getting almost within a hair of nominations.
Yeah. And I will be announcing the next 2 categories. Best Costume Design, the nominees are Birds of Prey, Emma, Mank, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Promising Young Woman. And for Best Cinematography, the nominees are First Cow, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, and Tenet. And for costumes, costumes was a runaway 5. Like, it was never in question, these 5. 6th place was Mulan, which was almost 400 points out of a nomination. Personal History of David Copperfield, which I think has been underrated for its crafts this season, finished 7th. First Cow for costumes in 8th. Ammonite and The Prom rounding out our top 10 there. Cinematography, I'm thinking of Ending Things, just missed out, although it was about 140 points out of a nomination in 6th place. Then To Five Bloods, News of the World, which I thought would do better for cinematography, Judas and the Black Messiah, which got the BAFTA nomination, and rounding out our top 10, surprise, surprise, Promising Young Woman.
I'm up next with 2 categories that aren't at the Oscars. And the first one I'm going to announce is Best Breakthrough Performer, which is one of my favorites every year. And all of you voting, you did an astonishingly good job again this year. Every year it's a good 5. I don't know how people are going to choose among these 5, but the nominees for Best Breakthrough Performer are Maria Bakalova, Kingsley Ben-Adir, Sidney Flanagan, Paul Racy, and Ya Jiang Yoon. They're applauding around the world that I said all of those right. And Ensemble, Best Film Ensemble, a different list than you see slightly from the SAG Ensemble coming up later in April. Our nominees are To Five Bloods, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Minari, One Night in Miami, and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
I actually had to double check this when I was doing this. It's actually surprisingly the exact 5 as the SAG nominees.
Oh, okay. I thought there was one.
Yeah. No, I thought there was two, but what that surprised me the most is that there was, because it's such a big year for ensemble films. I thought there would be more or less overlap because there's so many different options. For breakthrough, like everything that's even 6 to 10 was really exciting. Like Andra Day was within 100 points of a nomination. She was within a stone's throw. Maybe she would have snuck in if like people had more time to see a United States vs. Billie Holiday. Helena Zengel, Alan Kim, Dominique Fishback, Yeri Han were in our top 10. What an amazing top 10 that is, just in general.
Our second five could have been a good group of nominees.
Absolutely. And for Best Ensemble, just missing out, although this was a pretty secure five, Promising Young Woman was in 6th place, about 150 points out of a nomination. Then Mank, Judas and the Black Messiah, Nomadland, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Not that I'm partisan.
Next, we have the writing categories. First is Best Original Screenplay. The nominees are Minari, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, Promising Young Woman, Soul, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. And for Best Adapted Screenplay, the nominees are First Cow, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Nomadland, and One Night in Miami.
Yeah, these were a little surprising. Mank missed out on original screenplay, just barely in 6th place. Although by just barely, this was a pretty secure 5 too. That Mank was about 100 points out of a nomination. Sound of Metal was also close behind Mank, and Judas and the Black Messiah was close behind Sound of Metal. Palm Springs and BAFTA nominee, another round, rounded out our top 10 there. Adapted screenplay, The Father just missed out. By about 100 points. Then Borat, subsequent movie film, in 7th. Invisible Man, actually, in our top 10 for adapted screenplays in 8th. Then Emma and News of the World.
And I'm back for Best Supporting Actor. The nominees are Sacha Baron Cohen, Chadwick Boseman, Daniel Kaluuya, Leslie Odom Jr., and Paul Raci.
Yeah, and this category, you know, from what you've heard so far, you won't be surprised to find out that the closest near miss to this category was Bo Burnham for Promising Young Woman. Finished in 6th place, although 100 points out of a nomination. And then Alan Kim in Minari was in 7th, Bill Murray in On the Rocks in 8th, and then Mark Rylance in 9th for Trial of Chicago 7, Glenn Turman in 10th, just a hair ahead of Yahya Abdul-Mateen for Trial of Chicago 7 in 11th. So this was such a stacked category in general. But yeah, really, I was like, you know, there was a while there early on in the voting, especially when Bo Burnham was in.
That would have been awesome.
And on Best Supporting Actress, the nominees are Maria Bakalova, Borat, subsequent movie film, Glenn Close, Hillbilly Elegy, Olivia Colman, The Father, Amanda Seyfried, Mank, and Yoo Jung-yoon, Minari.
Yeah. And the one who just missed was in 6th place was Ellen Burstyn in Pieces of a Woman. It's a pretty steep drop off after that, although Dominique Fishback in 7th place did get a lot of support, but about half as many votes or half as many points as Ellen Burstyn. Toni Collette, I'm Thinking of Ending Things in 8th. Talia Ryder, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always in 9th. Olivia Cook, Sound of Metal in 10th. Perhaps surprisingly, Helena Zengel, who's been getting a lot of recognition this year, was only in 11th with our voters. And Jodie Foster in 13th, who has been, like, after that Golden Globe win, seeming like a threat.
All right, let's move on to Best Actor now. And the nominees are Riz Ahmed, Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins, The Father, Delroy Lindo, The Five Bloods, yes, and Stephen Yeun, Minari.
Perfect lineup. Oscars, please listen to this lineup. You know, this was actually a runaway lineup again. 6th place was about 400 points out, and it was actually Mads Mikkelsen, BAFTA nominee for another round. Gary Oldman didn't come in until 7th. And Gary Oldman would have needed double the points to get a nomination.
I can hear Zach cheering already about Delroy Lindo's nomination.
Yes, you can.
And rounding out our top 10, because I really liked, again, Best Actor is another category that's really stacked this year. Kingsley Ben-Adir in 8th for One Night in Miami, Lakeith Stanfield in 9th for Judas and the Black Messiah, and Jesse Plemons for I'm Thinking of Ending Things in 10th, which I was very excited to see.
Okay, next up is Best Actress. Nominees here are Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Sydney Flanagan, yay, for Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman.
Yeah, and this category was interesting because the closest miss within 100 points of a nomination was Elizabeth Moss for The Invisible Man. And then Jessie Buckley for I'm Thinking of Ending Things. So a lot of the people who have been showing up, in nominations weren't like that high up if they missed. Andrew Day was in 10th, Rosamund Pike was 11th, Amy Adams, who got the SAG nomination, was in 12th. So that was an interesting lineup. Yeti Han was in 8th here. I'm glad she got some support here, although I don't know why the film hasn't registered for her as much as it's registered for other actors in it.
Well, let me just say, there's a few hours left of Oscar voting at this point, so it's not too late to cast a ballot for Sydney Flanagan for all of you voters out there.
And Delroy Lindo.
And for Delroy Lindo, yeah. So, just if you haven't turned your ballots in yet, FYC, everybody.
Which brings us to Best Director. We just heard the Directors Guild nominees yesterday as we're recording this, the day after DGA. And our nominees are Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman, David Fincher for Mank, Regina King in One Night in Miami, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. So 4 out of the 5 of the DGA nominees we nominated. We also put in Regina King, who did not get in at the DGA except for in the first time filmmaker category. And another interesting 6 through 10, because Aaron Sorkin was 9th. The closest miss, and this was actually a pretty secure top 5, was Kelly Reichardt for First Cow. She was like 300 points out of a nomination. Then Spike Lee into Five Bloods, then Charlie Kaufman and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and Aaron Sorkin in 9th, followed by Eliza Hittman in 10th. A lot of support for a lot of those, so there wasn't a huge drop off after a few of those. So that's honestly, like, part of me wants to expand to 10 in a lot of categories because it's just such an interesting lineup that we see.
Well, and speaking of 10, we don't have a floating system like the Oscars have for several years. We have an actual 10 Best Picture nominees, and that's our last category we'll announce here. And Daniel will give some information, and then we'll tell you how to vote and let you be on your way for today. Best Picture, 10 nominees. I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Soul, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
And this, the next 5 to 10 is interesting. Like, it's I've talked about like the baptism diversity, and I do think it's a little odd that 11th, 12th, and 13th are to Five Bloods, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and One Night in Miami. They all missed. And then First Cow in 14th place, Palm Springs actually in 15th place. A couple of major Oscar contenders, The Father, which got a BAFTA nomination for Best Picture, that was in 17th. News of the World was in 25th. So this was a very interesting list that didn't go exactly as other awards have gone. I'll just give some totals. Mank is the most nominated film with 10, followed by Minari with 8. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with 8, even though it just missed out on Best Picture. And then several films have 6 apiece. Promising Young Woman, which, as I mentioned, came close to getting a lot more than that. Nomadland has 6. Soul has 6. Tenet has 6, all below the line. So it's one of the most nominated crafts movies of the year. So those are our nominees. I hope you all like them.
Whether you like them or not, these are our nominees. So you can vote now. We are opening up the prediction center now. And in this case, you're not predicting, you're making your actual votes. For 21 categories, you're not ranking. You go in and you just pick your choice for the winner for those categories. Best Picture, you can rank your top three. One being your favorite, two being your second favorite, three being your third favorite. And the votes will tally that way. You've got up until April 16th. And then we will announce the following week, 3 or 4 days before the Oscars, on our winners. You go ahead and make your picks today, because you can go back and change them as often as you like as you see more movies over the next few weeks. So it doesn't hurt to go ahead and make your picks today. And also, while you're in there, the Grammys are this weekend. You can make predictions in a ton of categories there. We do more categories than the Grammys do in terms of what we care about. They will only present, 6 or 7 on the actual ceremony. But also all the Guild Awards. There's probably 18 to 20 Guild events in there, including the SAG Awards, Spirit Awards, Tony Awards, even though we still don't know what they're doing with those on a ceremony. So go in, please, and predict all of those. You can win prizes. The person that gets the best predictions on a given event does win a prize, and you get bragging rights across the website. So thank you all for watching. Again, we didn't pick these nominees. It was 2,200 people roughly from around the world. And thank you for watching today, and go make your predictions and vote.